This is the Senior and Disabled Relief Tax Relief Committee. I'm Cindy Parham, and I'm going to just start with the pledge, so we can just stand and do the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And now I'm going to take the roll call. We have myself, Cindy Parham, Chair, Jill Vergara, Vice Chair, Hannah Gale, Secretary, and Member Mark McDermott. I see we also have guest Julie DeMarco from Director of Human Services. Thank you for coming on tonight. So the first thing on our agenda was to approve some of the minutes, I believe. Let me get my agenda. It's in here. No.
Okay.
Do you have the agenda?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so we're going to first approve the meeting minutes from June 22nd.
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Okay, Jill and Mark. Any discussion from the meeting minutes from June 22nd that you've had for 45 minutes? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, passed unanimously. And then we're going to approve the minutes from October 6th, which we've had for a bit. So is there a motion to approve these minutes?
Make a motion to approve.
Mark?
I'll second.
And Jill seconded. Any discussion on the minutes? Changes? Amendments? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Abstentions? Okay, passed unanimously. And then we just received minutes, right, from Hannah regarding our organizational meeting on February 3rd.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Jill?
Second.
Mark seconded. Any discussion on the February 3rd minutes?
Give me a quick second.
Let's just look at them quickly. And you have all the meetings in there too?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah.
All the meetings, dates are right.
I'm just gonna check that one.
That's all I know.
Everything else is okay. I'm just looking at, I didn't write down the dates, so.
Yeah.
I was waiting for the minutes.
Those minutes take hours.
Yeah, all the dates checked.
Okay.
All right, so then all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, abstentions? Okay, passed unanimously. Okay, so the next thing on our agenda is the discussion of the potential formation of the joint Board of Finance and RTM Committee Joint Task Force. And we want to bring that up to discuss, like, if anyone here has heard from the Board of Finance as to whether or not they are interested in continuing going forward with that 5-member board or
Yes,
5-member committee.
From what I've heard.
I'm sorry, say that one more time, because I didn't know about this 5-member committee thing.
Jill could explain, because she was in touch.
I don't think that a specific number of members was being considered, but the idea of a joint committee between the RTM and the Board of Finance seems like it's something that Board of Finance members are willing to discuss. And from what I've heard, they were supposed to have a meeting of the Board of Finance subcommittee in January, but they haven't met, and they were going to discuss the issue then.
Mm-hmm.
So they would have discussed it already, but the meeting.
They haven't discussed it yet, and I'm supposed to get a heads up for when they have that meeting. They just never scheduled it. We've been waiting for the Board of Finance to meet on senior and disabled tax relief for, since they closed discussions last January, was it? Or I can't even remember exactly when it was, but I think it was in the beginning of our term. So that was, when were we elected?
November.
November 21?
21.
Okay, so it was in, February 2022 that they voted to close review of senior and disabled tax relief. And we've been waiting for them to meet again because they got the same report that the RTM heard in June, and which clearly shows that there are problems with the program. There's been significant attrition, that there's also less revenue loss than they had anticipated, and that's because so many people dropped out of the program.
So they voted to close review of just the senior and disabled tax program, period.
Right,
Their committee,
their committee did.
the Board of Finance, disabled and tax, senior and disabled.
They were a group of people that we had brought ordinance enhancement and changes to for their review.
So this committee, the RTM committee, brought recommendations to the finance board and
Not at that time.
not at that time?
No.
Okay.
No, but the RTM is required by ordinance to meet and to form a committee to review this ordinance every other year, every time every time we're elected. For each session, beginning of the session, we're required to form a committee. So there's supposed to be a constant review of this program because there are so many different issues of tweaking it.
Okay.
And the Board of Finance kind of just recently got back involved, and there's not a lot of institutional knowledge about how that really works between working with the RTM on this. So
Okay, it's in the town charter that the RTM is supposed to review
in our ordinance,
in
the town code.
the town code, okay. So it's in the code that we reviewed when we started last
Yeah.
year? Okay. Why don't I remember that?
So what should next steps be? Should it be like approaching the Board of Finance or Lori in particular?
And
I've spoken to Lori, but I think it's really up to the subcommittee members, and I think that's Craig Curley, Chris DeWitt,
And Sheila?
and Sheila,
did you say a yearly basis, bi-yearly basis, yearly basis?
biannual.
Biannual, okay.
So every time the RTM's elected?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Can we look that up? Because I'm trying to remember, for some reason I felt like we didn't have enough of a legal leg to stand that, but I guess we do.
Well, the RTM can form a committee anytime it wants.
No, I remember that, but I don't remember there being something in the actual code that said that the RTM would review it, but.
Yeah, it's section 95-15.4, RTM Review Committee.
Section 95, I've gotta go on, hang on, the town site, right? It's on the town website, right?
It should be. At its first regularly scheduled meeting in January 2020 is what it reads now. A representative town meeting shall convene a special committee to review Article 3 of Chapter 95, tax relief for elderly and disabled homeowners.
Okay, but it's
Supposed
only.
to be refreshed.
It says to be refreshed?
Yes, that's the assumption for.
It's refreshed at the beginning of every new session of the newly elected RTM in January,
All right, let me find this.
or it's,
Ordinance, town ordinances, is that?
I think you could Google senior disabled tax relief, if you don't come up.
yeah, if you just.
Ordinance.
Did I Google it?
Oh, no, I meant like on the search,
On the search bar? Senior and disabled.
So you're thinking we might contact Craig, Chris, and Sheila to see if they're interested
Yeah.
in forming a committee? Because
I think
prior to budget season, they could say yay or nay, but just at least ask them.
we should definitely reach out to make sure that they have this meeting that they've been planning on having, so that we can have an open discussion publicly, and other people and community members can weigh in on whether they should be doing this, because, I think that it should just be
Oh, so
public.
this meeting would be them and us? It would be the three of them by themselves, or it would be three of them with us being invited?
They would be holding their own subcommittee meeting, and we would hopefully be invited, told about, given a heads up about the meeting, and we can speak and also
Okay. Just like the
tell
public.
Fairfield, the senior advocates about it, and anybody else who might have an interest in having the RTM and Board of Finance work together so that we can make some progress on the
Okay.
tax relief.
So I think we're gonna skip to the next thing, Hannah, unless you wanna look that up. Because we don't really have anything we could move on this,
Okay.
other than, I'll contact Craig and Sheila and Chris to see if they have a date that they're scheduling it, and that we hope it's in the first quarter. Because the first quarter is over in 5 weeks.
Well, we have a time, you know, we have a very condensed time frame. That's why the RTM is an ideal board to be looking at this, because we have a reason to work quickly and pass legislation, because we're only elected for 2 years.
2 years, right. Okay, so what did you just say about how you were gonna handle this?
I'm gonna call Craig, I'm gonna email Craig and Chris and Sheila from the Board of Finance, or I might just make a call to Craig and just ask if they have a meeting
Who was
planned.
the chair, Chris?
I think it's,
Correct?
No,
I'm
I
just
think
gonna
that
say you're
they're
gonna
changing
contact
that.
the
I
Board
think
of
it will-
Finance
I think they're gonna
members.
be Craig.
yeah, the Board of Finance Subcommittee, which is Craig Curley, Chris DeWitt, and Sheila Marmion.
And what is that subcommittee called?
I don't know.
The Board of Finance,
Finance,
Senior
Senior.
Disabled Tax Relief.
They should make T-shirts up.
Um,
Yeah, I'm not sure. So just when are they meeting? We heard that they were going to meet and they postponed it, so are they meeting? We're hoping that they do the first quarter of the year. And then I'll report back to our group on that.
So
so the subcommittee never met.
Right.
So the subcommittee have they ever met since they closed the review?
They haven't met, no, since last spring.
Okay.
All right, so I'm gonna move on to the next item, because I know that, Julie is here in and out to talk about, the current tax relief application process. I gave you your agenda back, I found mine. So I did speak with, Ross, and he was gonna try to call in tonight. He did say that they had 39 applications that they had taken in as of Monday. And, I told him that I was gonna bring his group breakfast on Friday morning, because he said they're all in on Friday, there's 7 of them working, so I figured I could at least meet them all.
Oh, that's a really good idea.
That's nice.
Yeah, so I'm just gonna bring some bagels and cream cheese and tell them that, you know, we're here if they have questions about anything and who we are and all our names, and he said that that would be the time they would all be together, before 11 o'clock. So he didn't say that there was a flurry of activity, 39 people really in 2 weeks, so. And then I wanted Julie to come on because,
yeah, but are those new applications? I mean, how many roll?
3 were new,
3 were new?
yeah. I'm glad you asked that.
Has the first selectwoman, put this into her newsletter?
I was told by Ross that it's in the newsletter, and also another reason Julie came on is because she also has it in her, I know you're on mute right now, I think, Julie, but I can't really tell, but I know Julie also puts it in the February, March, and April newsletter.
Oh, great.
And is that 2 issues or 3?
That's 3. We will put it in May too, because it'll go into May, and it goes out in our weekly email blast too.
Okay. But I know you and I spoke a little bit about how, you know, the people that are coming in, a very small percentage of those that actually are signed up to, you know, be members of Bigelow might not be coming in. And you asked that we, as a group, RTM, special group, bless you, reach out to some other groups of people that may not be hearing about it or may not see something in their tax bill. Did you want to talk about a little bit about your input?
Sure, thanks for asking. I think what's hard is that we reach out to the same group every single time. I think the first Selectwoman's update is a great addition to news, because it goes out to 27,000 people. But there's, you know, we don't have every senior coming into the senior center. So, you know, when you think of, you know, houses of worship, neighborhood associations, and senior housing, those are all really untapped resources. I know that the town maintains a list of neighborhood associations. I suspect that many of your RTM members know their neighbors just based on campaigning and might have a sense of who's a senior. You know, you never know who's eligible, who's not, just by looking at them, obviously, but you can get a pretty good idea. But you know, it might be worth targeting an email to those neighborhood groups. I don't have a list of condo associations. There's a lot of people in condos, and the senior housing sites are another one. They can put things in their community rooms, and they share a lot of information at their regular meetings.
And you say senior housing, are you talking about, not affordable housing?
Well,
So
senior
what,
and disabled housing, like Sullivan McKinney and Parish Court and the Housing Authority. But, yeah.
And then you asked me to go, you said to go onto that website to look up the affordable housing site to see like what was there. And I pulled it up, but as I mentioned to you in the email, it sounded like, other than Sullivan, McKinney, Pine Tree, and Trefoil, the rest of these do look like private homes, like Section 8 housing.
Yeah,
So
well,
would they be
remember-
renting, not owning?
Exactly.
Sullivan is
That would be renting, not owning, so they wouldn't necessarily be eligible. But we don't maintain a list. You know, I don't know if Ross is able to break out that list. Fairfield Senior Advocates did a survey and or did a culling of information. Remember they talked about this at one of your meetings before, where they had the list of over 65 homeowners from the tax assessor's office. Remember that vaguely?
I do remember Gordon McKenzie talking about how many seniors, it was like 15.6% of our seniors with a total of like 9,000 and change, but I didn't know we had an actual physical list.
Yep, it's not an email list, it's just they have a list of, you know, at that moment in time, homeowners.
Oh, that's easy. Then those people, and I wonder if that includes like an email or it might just be an address.
Probably just an
So
address. Yeah.
Yeah.
We also did a mailing, you know, must have been 3 or 4 years
I
ago,
know.
but
Julie was on that meeting. Remember, you had to, someone put in money from tax collector, assessor, and then human services to pay for it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we had
It's like,
so it was a broader swath so that we could maybe also encompass people who need this help, who have disabilities.
Mm-hmm.
but I mean, I think it was like $1,000 for each of you to put in. It was a pretty big sum of money for postage and the creation of the postcard.
Yeah.
It did seem like it got a lot of people to
Mm-hmm.
know, you know, it was very informative. It seemed like people
Yeah.
came in who wouldn't otherwise have to
Mm-hmm.
apply for the program.
And do you think the list that we mailed it to was that 65 and older list that FSA had?
No, it was, we had engaged a company called Info USA.
Oh, right. I remember that now. Again, I don't remember
They
the cost of
generated a
that.
list.
Yeah,
I don't remember the cost of
it was
researching it.
minimal.
Was it?
What did they generate it from?
Databases, I'm not sure, it's
This
their,
is their specialty.
it's their thing,
what
the
they do, yeah.
demographics, yeah, I don't know how they honed it.
Okay.
They honed it and they tracked it. So, I mean, I don't know if that's something we could even look into what was done in the past. And, I mean, we didn't do it. Who like initiated it? Was it Ross?
I initiated it and, we advocated for it, and then we got the cost, and we got some, people to help out with it, the registrar's office,
Okay.
the
Registrar, Human Services, and then I think the tax collector, maybe?
maybe the tax collector, I can't remember. I don't remember it being very, very much money.
Mm-hmm. Is that something we should pursue again, just to see if we get new people?
I saw it seems like it helped. It
Mhm.
seems like it spread the word more than anything else had. But we didn't have a newsletter at that time, so it is, I mean, it's pretty,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and the first select one, I mean, everybody reads that. It's amazing.
Yeah, and most seniors do. I mean, what do you think about emails and seniors? Do you think like a pretty high percentage have
I do.
email?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, there's definitely a group of you know, tech fearful, but for the most part, most of our seniors who are active are using email, and those who are not are in the center, and we're giving them copies, or they're getting their taxes done having copies. I'm all for a mailing. I do think that the First Selectmen's newsletter is probably more effective. We also don't have as large a postage budget. We had been reducing that because we just don't do mailings anymore because so many people are on email.
Julie, your email blast that goes out weekly, how many people approximately does that go to? Do you know off the
Like
top of your
30
head?
Yeah, about 34, maybe 33 or 3,400. I mean, it's a good list. And we do, and you know, Brenda Steele does that now, and that does, you know, people do read that. It's not as long as the First Select Woman's because we don't have as much news, but we don't put the entire article, we put some with a link.
Yeah, I mean, I have yours from last week, and it has clearly stated about senior tax relief in there. I mean, do you print that out and have it at the front desk to hand out to people as well, that newsletter? Is that something?
We do, but we also have Ross gave us a two-sided flyer that is all over the building that we give out.
For the, yeah.
And we did put them in, we do a mobile food pantry with Operation Hope every other week. And we did put those the information about senior tax relief, senior and disabled tax relief in those bags that went out today. And we'll probably do that a few more times. Those, you know, the people who receive that, it's maybe 23 or 24 households. A couple are renters, but mostly they're not. So they may have not known about it before. We put the newsletters and things in there, but that was a little bit more targeted.
So you're saying houses of worship, local associations, and condo associations.
Yeah. You know,
Condo associations is really good, an untapped resource for us. Because, I mean, a lot of people do downsize to a condo.
They do. Some of them have, you know, I started trying to cull together a list of those associations, and then I just lost steam during COVID, because when we do that snow shoveling for seniors, or the when there's a storm coming and we try to notify people to start keeping an eye on their neighbors, we try to target neighborhood associations and those condos. We just didn't get very far with that. Some have them listed online, who the condo associations are and whom their leaders, you know, who leads them. But I don't have that list. I truly.
Well, I mean, every condo has an office, so we can just walk into an office and say, can you make sure, like, here's 50 copies, make sure your tenants receive this. Because then we wouldn't have to mail it, we could just drop off something. It would be no expense really, other
That's a
than
great
copies.
idea.
All right, and then, go ahead, no, you had, just one more question. You know, I mentioned that people doing tax preparation, and that's 2 days a week from 9 to 1?
Yep.
What days are that? What days?
Mondays and Wednesdays. They started the 1st of February and they'll go through to tax day.
Okay. And that's by appointment only, and it's probably not that busy yet, but hopefully soon.
It's almost full. No, it is very busy. It's busy the moment it opens.
And they're also directing people to senior tax relief opportunity?
Yep, all that information's there. There's 7 appointments per hour. And it doesn't sound overwhelming probably from there. It's a lot of people that come through.
How many people are there to do 7 clients an hour?
7.
Oh, 7, good, okay.
Wait, and who's doing, what are these appointments for?
Free tax preparation for
tax
a certain
preparation,
income limit?
Yep, AARP.
We used to do applications at the senior center for senior and disabled tax relief. Is that happening at all?
No, that wasn't it didn't get you as much bang for the buck as you would think. Having set hours gets them there and gets people to do them, especially with the information. You know, we'd have somebody there all day and that would pull somebody away from the tax office, and it really wasn't a good use of time. They weren't busy.
Okay.
Even at the busiest, they weren't busy.
And then you mentioned the Fairfield Public Library main office has tax preparation one day also?
Yep, on Tuesdays, that's drop-in.
Tuesdays. All right, so those are other places to leave them, the library. So, did you have anything else you wanted to tell us or add regarding anything that we could help you with or that you could tell us about?
Not about tax relief. No, thanks though.
I have one question.
Of course.
Jill. So there's a disabilities commission, and do they have a list, or could they be helpful in communicating out the programs that we have available? Because I worry that we're not reaching, people with disabilities enough.
Not yet. It's a new commission, kind of getting its legs. It meets every other month, and um, you don't keep a list of people with disabilities. Some people would identify, some people wouldn't. So it's hard to have a target audience there.
Okay.
Yeah, but
And
it's certainly if, I mean, we could put it in the minutes. It's new enough that a lot of people don't know about it yet.
okay. It would be great to collaborate with them, because I think that we have a lot of issues in common with their commission, and I think that they should have important input into our, the legislation and, the different ways that we could be helping improve the way that we're helping people with disabilities in town.
Okay, that's
Is there a
great idea.
contact? Yeah, I would love to, I mean, if we could have someone who attends our meetings sometimes, or if we get, if we get their meetings flagged, maybe one of us can attend and report back.
Okay, so our next meeting is March 8th. It's a Tuesday. We haven't done the agenda to that yet, but the chair, his name is Alder Crocker, ALDER Crocker, like Betty. And the vice chair is Dan Van Horn. I can send them a note.
Dan Van Horn.
Yep, from Trinity. He's the pastor at Trinity Baptist Church. But yeah, I could ask them if this is something that we could include on that agenda, or if they meet every other month. So the next one would be May. So really, this one would be the meaningful one. Yeah, I will have to get back to you, but I think that makes a lot of sense.
And do you meet right at your Bigelow Center?
Theoretically, most people call in. We do a conference call, just because it's more convenient. More people.
So then
can
maybe
show
we can
up.
get on your agenda, as you mentioned, to
Yeah.
see if we could discuss the benefit of the disabled tax relief.
Yep.
I know even when we had the presentations at your center, there was always a couple people that spoke with us later with a disability that had specific questions.
That's a great idea. That's a great idea, Jill, to have the commission involved.
I have one last question. Do we have a point person for veterans? I know that there are veterans with disabilities and there are ranges for the percentage of disability, and they're not all totally disabled, but it would be, I think some towns have point people for their veterans. Do we?
We do, Jill. It's me, which
Okay.
is I'm the municipal agent for veterans, but again, there's not a list. Ross does have, he probably could access that list of veterans who apply and take advantage of special programs. Again, we just don't have a list yet. I mean, not even yet. We don't keep a list.
And does the VFW hall have a meeting group that would be a contact for you?
Yep, Chris DeWitt is the commander or the commandant. I think it's the commander at Owen Fish, and I don't know who the new leader is since Tom Quinn passed away at the VFW, the one on Reef Road.
Right.
But they have regular meetings. Port 5 in Bridgeport, they also do. We do
Okay,
have
so there are other places to drop off the flyers or the information on tax relief, I would assume. The VFW and the.
Yeah, that's a
Owen
great
Fish isn't open, but VFW is like an open, isn't it open? Like you can walk in and drop something off?
I think so.
Aren't they demolishing it?
I don't know. I hadn't heard
Is there
that.
something being demolished over there, or no?
I hadn't heard that. Do you know?
Oh, maybe I'm wrong. Don't start a rumor, but don't put that in the minutes.
We have the Department of Veterans Affairs is in office space in our building right now, hopefully permanently. But that's another place where I can put flyers. I mean, they're still in our building and people could put them up, but our region's officer is Ramon Augusto, and they are in our building now, which is awesome.
Great. All right, well, thank you so much, Julie.
I have one last question. I'm really sorry.
Oh, it's no, I'm here, what the heck?
So we also have, we kind of monitor state legislation, but really only by way of community members telling us when there's state legislation that's pertinent to tax relief. And I was wondering whether you or the Human Services Commission tracks this stuff so that we could help advocate for things that need to be changed at the state level. So like, for instance, our tax relief the state's tax relief program, the circuit breaker program, isn't funded year to year by the state, which means that it has to be funded through property tax, by the town, which is really a really regressive way of doing it. And so, you know, if we were to get the legislation passed that actually funds it, that would be fantastic. There's also legislation to increase the criteria, the income limits to be able to participate in the state program. Those are the only two that I know about, but do you track any of that?
No, but that's a great idea for that commission. We rely on Fairfield Senior Advocates for so much information like that, but the commission has not done that kind of work. That's a great idea. We also, I think, not on a tax committee. I think Jennifer Leeper is on Human Services Commission, maybe up, you know, the committee up there. That's a great idea. That's another great idea, Joe.
Thanks, Julie.
Keep them coming, Joe.
Yep, we meet next week, so I will mention that. It's a great idea. You know, it's perfectly appropriate for the commission to be doing.
So
Thank
summarize,
you so much
summarize
for-
that again, that last point.
About tracking the state legislation so that we can help advocate, because I would love to write testimony supporting whatever would help Fairfielders save money.
Mm.
Well, I mean, you could ask our representatives, you know, to raise a bill.
Yep.
I mean, and that would be the way to do it, you know?
Is it to raise a bill, or is it to get them actually funded?
Huh?
I think that they need a bill to do
To
that.
fund it? But they have a program that they don't fund.
To force them
Force
to
them
fund
to
it.
fund it.
Yeah, you know, so, yeah.
We have this program, but we don't have any money for it. Right?
All right. Thanks again. You could certainly stay on the meeting if you'd like, but I appreciate your input today, Julie.
All due respect, I'm going to hit the road, but nice to see you all.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thanks,
Julie.
Julie.
Thanks.
Bye.
All right, so, what's enough about the application process? We'll find out more as time goes on. But it sounds like we have to do like grassroots efforts, like dropping off flyers, or I'm gonna see what Ross is actually giving to the center, because I don't know what he's actually handing them to like leave in their lobby.
Maybe one of the newsletters of Brenda's, it could be like top
Oh, yeah.
prioritized, because when it's down at the
It's at the bottom, yeah.
people don't really,
don't
it's
see-
a pretty
it doesn't go all
long
the way
list.
down.
One of my customers was like, you know, I'm going to print that newsletter and read it because she was going away. And she said to me, Cindy, I did it in like a larger font and it was 54 pages.
Oh my God.
She's like, I'm out of ink because I printed the for Select Women's newsletter. And I'm like,
Yeah, you don't want to print
don't
that.
do that ever again. She's like, but I was like on a train, I had time, but I was thinking 54 pages because of all the like pictures and everything. I'm
Yeah.
sure. Yeah. Do you think it just gets added to and not deleted ever? It just seems to grow.
I think that now, like, you know, she writes her thing and then everybody sends stuff to tack on.
links
Now
and
there's
so
a
forth.
million things tacked on, yeah.
I know. So we're gonna go to the next item, which is old business, and I know you didn't have a chance really to look too much at the minutes from this summer, but those minutes from June, there was something in them about, you know, Gordon was very verbal and Herb about wanting to come up with a strategy. So, one of the things Herb had mentioned was we need you know, our committee could use a strategy. Which, you know, we kind of understand that, you know, we try to do what we can, but certainly we'll take his suggestion. And so And then, Gordon also talked about going back to all the 16 towns that we've researched in the past and seeing, like, having a formal questionnaire, if I recall, about, you know, how does your deferral program look, and, you know, do you have to apply for one and the other together? Do you even have a program?
I think that's very smart, because if we're gonna be advocating for a change, it's nice to have, you know, some very concrete.
But if I recall, he made it sound like we really need to get, like, hard answers, not just, like,
Yeah.
read the ordinance and figure it out ourselves. He wants to know, Gordon was saying, do the fiscal managers in your town feel that these programs are justified and why? Like, he wants us to go right to the assessor, remember? And it's not always easy.
Yeah.
And Herb mentioned, like, tell all these 16 towns, including Fairfield, will provide you with the survey results
Yeah.
if you participate and answer the following questions.
Yeah, and just email it to the assessor, and then call them and ask them to fill it out while you're, like, you know, and so you get it right away, you know, just, you know.
I almost think it's easier to get people on the phone. That was my experience in sending them anything by email or asking
Well,
them
you do
to
both.
answer anything by email.
Oh, like, nobody pays attention to anything nowadays unless you're talking to
Right.
them. We're all just crazy.
Because they can just throw it in an inbox or delete it.
We're all overwhelmed, it's too much, everything is too much.
But you had mentioned at that meeting, if I recall, was, you know, you don't always get the assessor or the assistant assessor. You might get a clerk who's running out the door and doesn't have every answer that you want to survey people about. So it really has to be.
So you send them the email and then you bug them.
What's the elixir? Can we say it on video?
Address with a little, you know, yeah, just picture.
So
And just immune support.
I was thinking our committee, since there's 16.
A little bit of alcohol.
Oh, gosh. I actually had I know, I don't have any alcohol on me either. Town meetings and Girl Scout functions, I refuse. Those are the two places.
Wait.
I went through many, many Girl Scout camps wishing I had a flask, but never did.
I bet.
Oh, my gosh. So the tax deferral program that I had researched last year, the 16 towns, I was thinking, like, since there's 4 of us, you know, we could each call 4 towns.
Yeah.
I'll email you this, document. And then, but we should really come up with, like, a list. Doesn't have to be tonight, but maybe over email, we come up with a survey
Yeah.
about the deferral. You know, we could obviously read these 4 towns that you're gonna get assigned ordinance, and maybe you're already familiar with them, but maybe just, like, come up with 5 easy questions. You're not gonna give them a long survey. But one of the things that member Gordon had brought up was, does the management of the town find these programs justifiable to keep? Like our deferral program, at that meeting, there were 2 people that had used it last year for a total of $16,000. Like, do we market deferral? And then Gordon was like, yeah, we should, because it gives people cash flow. And right now, maybe that's important to some people. But I don't know what this little flyer is that, you know, the senior center has and Ross has and the libraries have, but maybe it's just so basic. Maybe it just says, come in and apply for tax relief. It might not have any benefits, you know. So I'll find out on Friday what it looks like.
That'd be great.
Because it should be an enhanced flyer where it says, you know, attention, 62 and older, like, we have blank, blank, blank. We have 3 different programs. I mean, freeze is nothing. We don't have a freeze, really.
So many towns, I've harped on this for years, so many towns have forms online. So it helps people to prepare for these meetings or know whether or not.
Of course they should be online. It's absurd.
Even like Newtown has it online.
A bunch of
Like a lot of rural towns have it online.
Isn't there a form section on the town website, which must be in the forms area?
A little Adobe.
Once you have a form in a town, it should be on the website under forms.
Maybe that's part of the modernization that's coming our way.
Yeah, should be. Well, we can, you know, once we have, like, I don't know, sort of approval from the frigging finance committee, we can make a request like that. Can you please put this, you know,
We should be able to request that of Ross now, because that's not a financial expense. You know, the Board of Finance does not need to, approve that request.
But is there, I'm just looking at the town website, is there a form section on there?
I've never seen one.
How can that be?
You're gonna lobby for it though, aren't you?
How can that be? I don't understand.
So I think before our next meeting, we should come up with like 5 questions, like, you know, that we want to do a survey, and then we split up these 16 towns. You know, make sure,
That sounds
maybe
good.
maybe we'll take those 5 questions and send them to Herb and Gordon for their input. I'm sure they'll be happy about that.
Much more manageable,
What if you
split it up
say-
like that.
Putting forms in the search box. Nothing comes back. There's
Hannah, you get
zero
it.
results.
Tax relief Brenda's newsletter is not that far down. It's actually the second thing on town government news, so.
Oh, great.
Does it look like bold or just regular type?
Yeah, forms and documents, building forms and documents, fire forms and documents.
It's on the right door.
Get a form, yeah, it's here. Here are some of the most frequently requested forms.
I think their website's
But
gonna be updated.
I just had to put forms into the search bar to get that.
Shit.
But there's a get a form thing. It's just not obvious when you jump on the page.
Tax relief is not on there.
But why can't it be
It
on
should
the
be.
get a form?
All right, the only thing I have next is new business. Does anyone have anything else to bring up for the committee? Anything at all?
Yes, I want to bring up, like, how do we get these forms up
I
on the
think,
get
I
form?
think Dave Kelly could do it, right? Once we create a form. Maybe the subcommittee with Board of Finance.
Ross would have to do it. I mean, I don't know exactly what he does for intake, and I think that one of the things he was saying as pushback is that it's a little complicated. There's not like a set intake form. But I was telling him that even if you look at new towns, they give a calculator for people. So to give people an idea of what kind of assets go into, you know, our asset, cap, and, what is the definition of income, and
Yeah, look at
what
new
kinds
towns
of
when you get a
things
chance.
that
It's
you
pretty
need to bring into the office. It just helps people to prepare, and I think that would help people to come in more, they'd be more likely to come in.
It's a very
Well,
antiquated system.
it's
yeah.
on the website what they're supposed to bring with them.
On the tax assessor
Yes.
website.
Yes.
Okay.
It's in there.
So on Friday, when I go to, oh, sorry, Mark, what were you saying?
Are we done with that topic, or?
No, about the, form, what to bring. You feel like it's clear enough on the website?
I can look back at it, but I was looking at it earlier tonight, and it tells everything you need to bring.
Yeah. So I'll find out how the intake is going when I go on Friday and see what else, the things that they're struggling with. They're not gonna tell me, are they? We're struggling.
So when I just typed in Office of the Assessor on the Fairfield page, I just get most requested information.
No, you gotta look up, Town of Fairfield, Connecticut, Senior and Disabled Tax Relief.
That's awfully specific.
No, and then it'll bring you to I Googled it tonight, because I was looking something up, and it's all there, and then you can click on town code, and it'll bring up the ordinance for you.
Okay, but why isn't it on the accessible through the town website?
What? It is.
I mean, there's no way to get there from what okay, I'm Googling it maybe, senior.
But you put in town assessor, tax assessor, and only
Yeah.
with Ross's info.
Yeah, but I'm sure if you click on whatever, it'll be in there somewhere. But if you put in specifically.
It is, if you go to other towns, it's much more straightforward how people see what the process is, and,
Are we still waiting?
our website is
Are we still waiting for the new website?
insanely
We're still waiting for the new website.
complicated and
Coming, right?
convoluted.
Here's what I got. The update from 2/5/21.
Keep going down, I think. No,
I'm just telling you all what I found from Googling.
I'll tell you, Town of Fairfield.
And we know what we're looking for.
Okay, so here's
Oh,
another one. There was another tab here.
It's got the lifesaver.
It's got the lifesaver. But in order to get there, I had to know what I was looking for.
Well, at the end of the day, we have a website issue for the town,
Yeah.
and which we know,
Oh, we know.
and we
It's
approve,
been years,
approve money
Oh, to
Be-
fix it.
to fix it.
pre-pandemic.
You approve money to fix it.
Okay.
And what was the last update on when it's gonna be? Still not even-
Anytime now.
Is it a supply chain problem?
Oh, the website? Ross said no one was on when I came on the meeting at 7. So, well, that's your right, no one was
I
on.
could have waited 5 minutes. Let's see here. Well, she got it picked it up already. I have a question. What do we want to accomplish in the next, what is it?
9 months?
No, not even March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, yeah. 8, 9 months.
Our strategy?
Is it 8, 9 months?
It's only
Oh.
February through
It's
October.
February.
Not bad. I was kind of feeling a little
I mean, what
not
do
so
we wanna-
hopeful about
You know, I brought up QTAV last week, and I was looking back at our notes, Cindy, and you and I both, at that time, we wanted to up the QTAV from anywhere from 50 to 100,000, and we agreed to 682,500 for, increase of 5% to it back in 2017. But that presentation didn't get through LNA.
Oh,
So,
that was not when McCarthy was in charge of
yes.
it.
Yeah.
Yes, it was. So that's something I still feel that we should be looking at. I mean, I think we should pick either, I don't know if you wanna
I
wait to
do
do these surveys first, but I think we need to focus on something in this ordinance that we can potentially get done in the next 9 months.
I do too, but I will tell you, I don't think that is palatable to the Board of Finance, and we're gonna have to work with them to get anything passed. And they didn't want to increase any kind of limits on anything that could maybe increase the amount of tax revenue loss.
But weren't we gonna work on lowering the age for deferment?
Well, yes, we wanted to, I thought we were going to enhance things for deferral, because that would not cost the town.
Right.
Because we're the only town that's 75 years old.
Yeah, we're an outlier, it's inappropriate.
But the changes that they have made, we're not spending as much money on the changes they made, right?
Yeah,
Correct?
yes,
So obviously that wasn't a fix. Participation is still going down,
yeah.
It's worse.
so that wasn't a fix.
And
It's
things, you
worse.
need a baseline, you have to enhance it and then
It's
see
worse.
what
Knew
happens.
that,
Some of
because-
some of
Well,
it's
we
sticking
did-
up
we
against
knew
the
that.
wall.
Needed to be increased.
We knew that.
And $62,500 in the QTAV, so you're not really gonna.
682,500.
Oh.
Well, all the information that we had gathered over those years and all the people who came in, the complaints we heard were not from anybody who was already on the program.
Right.
It's not about the benefits that they were receiving and it wasn't healthy enough.
Right.
It was people who had been kicked out of the program, or they were they were not able to get into the program because of the income cap or the QTAV. And so that's why we had advocated, because we saw the attrition and we thought that that was the way to bring the levels back up to where they had been historically, but, that's lost.
But we go back to, what is it, at 72, you have to start drawing, I mean, maybe it's more now, back then it was, I was looking at notes, Herb, it was 30, you need to start drawing out $30,000 a year out of your 401K or your IRA, whatever you have.
71 and a half, I thought.
Yeah.
70 and a half.
So whatever that
Oh,
number
it's
is,
70 and a half.
Mhm.
you know, so you start drawing that, and you're making $60,000, let's say, and
Right.
from whatever else you have, or,
Mhm.
so now you're out of the program, right? Because
Right.
you just, now you're at 90,000, so you're out. And you've been in it for, I don't know, 10 years,
Right.
6 years.
Right, it's not keeping up with inflation,
It's just,
Yeah.
it's not,
even though it's supposed to be.
650,000 is not a lot of money for a 65-year-old to have
No.
in bank account, investments, or 401K, if they're gonna live till they're 85, they might not outlive their money, you know?
Mm.
Their money is gonna probably be gone before they go. Oh, it just is,
Hmm. Are you talking about, remember,
I agree
I mean,
with
we have
you.
all agreed, right? We have all agreed, well, Hannah wasn't there, but we've all agreed that it needed to be increased, but nobody has the appetite to do it.
so about QTAV or the income?
But they've made all these changes that we had basically made.
Mhm,
It took them
It was
3 years
It
to
was
do
a
it.
copy and paste
mhm,
with a couple of fudging of a couple of percentages and,
right.
right? And we got hammered for, I don't know, an hour and a half or more at that meeting that night, even by our own people.
Is that the one we were at, the school? Well, the one that we were at the school and it went on forever.
We were
So
We
painful.
appeared before the Board of Finance.
finance.
I wasn't there. I didn't hear it.
No, no.
2 was announced.
It was at Osborne Hill. I remember
Yeah,
it like it
Osborne
was
Hill.
yesterday.
Exactly, that's exactly what I was talking about.
Mm. So what battle are we gonna pick?
But it's not like they had any answers themselves, you know, it was a typical,
Mhm.
Well, they didn't let me do the presentation, so I didn't even
Right.
present all of our findings, and, you know, we had a 50-page memo, so it was thrown out the window.
And nothing can be done again for this season, because it's in the middle of the season. We'd have to pass it,
it'll be for next year.
yeah.
That's why we have left, saying, we have 8 or 9 months to make an impact on, if we want, or we just
Well, what do we wanna choose?
do our.
Do we wanna choose the
I
QTAV?
wanna try to, I mean,
I mean, I would, deferral, of course, has always been one that we definitely have to look at.
deferral is the baseline. I think that that's a change that they wanted to make from the original committee, like when,
Yes.
in 2012.
You talking about the age, or just like in general?
The age,
Just the age itself would make a big
The
difference.
Yeah.
qualifications of deferral are just not,
Mm.
Reasonable.
they're not reasonable.
it's
I
not
mean, but-
attractive.
But we've sat there through meetings where people said, you know, I'm not gonna pay, you know, interest, and I'm not gonna have, you know, that's my kid's money. When I go,
Mhm.
they're gonna have to pay my tax bill when they get my house. You know, it's not enticing enough for people.
That's the reason we don't market it. If it's only 50% of the tax, and you have to be 75, and
I
the interest is 3%,
I think that
nothing good about it.
was a function of the times because they were more prosperous, but, you know, looking into the future, it may not quite be an option for people to worry, you know, they may need to stay in their homes.
Yeah, but if,
It's just, you know, with the rising costs of,
Oh, I think they're going to be even tighter with it
yeah,
now.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Mm.
That people are gonna be so tight that they, you know, that it may become more
It might.
attractive to have deferral, even if it means, because your housing value is gonna go up, or hopefully, you know,
well, I don't know
with
about that.
inflation, you know, and everything is being inflated. We're not getting away from inflation, that's just clear. You know, it's gonna happen, so everything is gonna get inflated, so if your housing value is more, then it's a less of a hit to have a lien on it that your kids are gonna have to pay.
Mm.
And, you know, for you to be able to stay in your house and relative to what other housing costs might be.
Mm-hmm.
But, the problem in Fairfield and a lot of towns is these cash buyers are pushing people out,
Well,
and.
we don't want that to happen because.
And the market is going down, plus the interest rates are up, maybe they're going down slightly now, but those went from, what, 3% to over, you're the mortgage person, but,
Yeah.
you know, so you have all these things happen, but, you know, my taxes are $16,000 a year on my house, so, okay, I defer, I'm 65, I defer $6,000 a year,
Mhm.
right, for
Or you could do 8,
20 years.
you could do 8,
For
50%.
10 years. So now I owe the town $120,000, right?
At 3%
But
interest.
At 3% interest.
yeah, but you've been able to stay in your house and.
I understand, but their thinking is,
Yeah,
now my kid has to pay that $120,000, they're gonna have to sell the house,
Mhm.
if they, Yeah, we can sit there and go, okay, well, that's your problem, right?
Well,
But
yeah.
that's their thinking, like, I don't want my kid to have $120,000.
Yeah, and I'm saying it's
So I either sell the house now and get out of here,
Mhm.
and somebody with cash scoops up my house
Starts
with a
paying
family
the bill.
of 4, putting them through the schools. We lose a senior or 2.
Mhm.
You know, it's a double-edged sword, and that's the thinking, you know, and we sat through many a meeting where people would say, I'm not doing that, it's not.
I'd rather leave my house.
I'm gonna end up either leaving because you know,
Sad.
But in
It's-
Westport, you can do 100% at 1% interest, as long as you
Really?
make under 75,000.
Wow.
So, you know, that's attractive when you say you can defer all of your taxes, all 16,000.
but what is it, I forget, is it only a certain number of years, right? Well, it's.
For Westport?
For us, is it, deferral is, it's
I
not for.
can't remember if, I
adding
know
to items.
freeze is so bizarre, like you can only be on it for 8 years or something like that,
I
and
was
then,
just reading
Mm.
that. That was on one of the,
Freeze is deferral,
here, he's got it up here, which is.
Yeah, what does
weird.
deferral say, Hannah?
Deferral says,
Does it have a time limit?
may elect to defer up to, it's only 50%.
okay, so my taxes are 16, I defer 8.
You can only defer 8.
So then, how many years could I defer 8 for?
I don't think there's a limit.
Forever?
is there?
Doesn't seem to be a,
Just
limit.
get a big bill at the end.
So, I'm 71 and a half, what's the age, 70?
70, you have to be
75.
75.
That's the problem, that's absurd.
Yeah. Every other town, all 15 other towns either don't have the program or it's 65.
It should be.
But if you do it at 65.
Why can't we just change that one
If
thing?
you do it at 65, and
I'll
live
take
for 10
that.
more years, that's 80 grand.
Mm. Yeah.
I don't, you know, some people don't see that as, like,
Let's face it, the next generation is gonna be doing better than our
maybe if
generation.
you're 75,
So
I'll
they don't really
fight
care about
for
your parents'
40.
house necessarily, their parents' house.
You're 80.
Not necessarily, they don't care about the equity they're
My parents,
inheriting.
They're 81 both, so you're kind of like,
We're all starting with jobs much higher income
Where am I?
than we
Right.
are.
Yeah.
you know.
Okay, so what's
It's
gonna be
also
our
that
legacy? Is it
Yeah,
gonna
they
be?
are gonna want their parents' houses.
Well, they're not, yeah, I mean, they're gonna want the equity,
credit,
but they're gonna have their own
the town takes
money.
money off of the amount that's due.
Yeah.
So
Right.
I can understand why people opt to go into the credit program. It would be great
Well, it's free.
to be able to do combination.
Combination's good too.
Mm. So what are the top 3 things we would want to change? We wanna change QTAV and up it by 10%?
Well, I don't know what the percentage is, I'm just saying,
Well,
I
the
mean,
thing is, you have to start
2007
somewhere.
It's 2017,
forever.
we proposed up at 5%,
10%, oh, 5%.
right? I made a proposal to do it
Mhm.
50 to 100,000, not like 750,000 was like top
Right.
end. And then we had many discussions
Mhm.
on, and then we
Right,
were in the minority, so we didn't,
right. And then we also discussed raising the income limit to 100,000 for credit.
well, we ended up presenting, it was 80 at that
Yeah.
time. It was the top, is what we proposed.
Yeah.
I'm focused on the process, so I really want to make sure that we change that, get into the ordinance and put down on paper how this is all going to work going forward, how changes are made, how the
Mhm.
review is going to happen, and getting the joint committee written into the ordinance.
Mm. So that's it, though, for the process? That's huge, but like, anything to change of the
Well,
ordinance?
I support the QTAV, an increase to the QTAV. I really think anything to the deferral would be helpful, the age,
Just
the
the age
income
alone?
limit, the fact that it's limited to 50%,
Mm.
all of that, I think needs to be reconsidered.
The income limit on that is 94,200 for deferral.
Mhm. It's still not, how much is the, credit program, the upper limit of the credit program now?
84,000.
For one?
Yeah, it's really not that big of a difference. We could be capturing more people who would opt, who aren't being,
Mhm.
who aren't getting into the credit program.
So a possible 5% QTAV or something,
Well,
The
X percent.
yeah, the deferral,
That's not
age to
better.
75. And then one other thing we might wanna try for, to make a change, other than the process to be changed in the ordinance. That would be really big, the process.
And then the other thing that has been missing is a hardship exception and/or
the
a
appeals
process
process.
to appeal, because Ross has final say and there's no way to appeal it. I'm not sure that's legal.
Mm. For like the one withdrawal that you have to do for a medical expense or something, that brought you over the income limit? Who do we say has to approve that? Someone like the Board of Finance? Like, who would have to be like the appeals people?
Yeah, the subcommittee, you would
We
think.
were saying that maybe the Board of Selectmen or, oh my gosh, what was it, the appeals for the tax appeals?
Oh,
Yeah,
Board of Assessment Appeals?
Board of
Board of
Assessment
Assessment
Appeals.
Appeals.
That was a good idea.
That's in another town's ordinance.
Mm-hmm.
Those are elected positions.
So I think these things have to be brought to this joint group, this Sheila, Chris, and Craig.
Mhm.
And we have to like state the case to them.
Well, if they continue with that as the group,
Mm,
right?
I hope so. That's a good group, right? As good as they're gonna get. 2 and 1, we're gonna get.
Well, here's the deal, it's an election year for everybody, right?
Mm. So they wanna help seniors, right? Except for Craig Curley, 'cause he's on a 6-year term.
Yeah, but I mean, I won't say everybody, all of us, right, if we run for the election year,
Mhm.
we may or may not be here November
Right, exactly.
7th,
So what's our legacy?
November 8th. We'll be,
Mhm.
retired.
Let's face it, I don't think people wanna promote senior tax relief for anything in town. I think they just want it to be a small number.
Yeah,
Like, the lower the number, the less revenue they're gonna lose.
that's the
It's
sense
just
I
such a
get.
narrow way of looking at it,
It's
you
always,
know?
Thank you.
I've been here since 2015 on this committee, and it's always been that way. They don't,
It's really
they really
frustrating.
don't wanna spend the money, or lose the money.
But they say they're here for seniors, I think it's just the way they market it. I think municipalities don't market things very well. That's not their strength. They don't know how to, they're not gonna promote it. They're not a PR firm,
Well,
they're not an event planning firm, they're not a,
If you're not gonna promote something that you're,
So-
but unless we were involved, would we really?
more money you lose on this, then you have to raise the
But I
mill
think
rate
these
taxes.
kinds of changes do make a difference,
Yeah.
because that's how we supported ours, like when towns like Newtown,
Mhm.
Ridgefield, Reading made changes in response to, resident concerns and demands that their programs weren't healthy enough, they all of a sudden started retaining their seniors more than any other town.
Mhm.
You could see it in the demographics.
Yeah, remember Gordon told us that last year and like in May when he did the research, it was like 16% were over 65, but then as soon as you turned 75, it was in half.
Mhm.
Because everyone left after they retired, He said it literally went from half, 65 and older, when it was 75 and older, the percentage was only like
The senior tax relief
7% instead of 15%.
Where we,
I mean, people don't stay here, they don't retire to Fairfield.
We did,
In my
had this
do we
neighborhood,
have the most recent?
my neighborhood had a lot of elderly.
Yeah, I do too, in Lake Hills, there's a lot of post-war capes that were
You're in
built.
Lake Hills?
Yeah, so there's a lot of post-war capes.
I didn't know that,
Yeah.
that's so cool.
Yeah, I'm on Winnipogue,
yeah, we should have
up in
that.
Nonapogue. And, it's a lot of seniors because you could
What is
take the
it?
cape and either build it or not and keep it small and retire in it,
I think it's so cute, the little
Yeah.
old cape.
Yeah, I
So
love the
this is-
cape.
We use,
Cute.
something like this to go into Ross's calculator for
Have you
how
been
much,
up to,
the program
the
costs.
hiking trail, that Snap Motor hiking trail
we
ever?
didn't
Oh, the Lake
include it in
Mohegan?
the-
2015.
It's not like Mohegan, it's a separate little
Yeah,
weird
we
place.
didn't-
Probably
Oh,
not.
I don't know.
It's off of,
This is
you know,
like
like
every
you
5
turn
years,
down
every
Snap
5
Motor,
years.
Yeah.
and then there's like a side street you go down, and there's this,
I kinda just,
Yeah, they call it the
have all
Cascades,
this stuff in a pile somewhere.
but it's like, there's like a sign and parking and you could walk through the
it's
trail.
not the Cascades, the
I
Cascades
think you
is
have
something
it.
else. It's Snap Mortar, and
Yeah.
in
That's why I'm
the
asking.
19th century, it was a famous picnic site, because you could go up it, and there was
That's the
this
thing we
like
did.
rock that was like
This is
this
the
like
demographic thing
sacred
that we
mortar
included.
Oh,
from the
okay.
It
Indians.
wasn't,
but a tree has grown under it, and you can't see it anymore, because it's been lifted up now.
Oh, my
The
gosh.
root has, yeah, it's really kind
I
of,
think I'm gonna adjourn the meeting, end
Yeah.
meeting warning. Okay, they
I'm so
want to.
sorry.
No, just so we could chat.
yeah.
Isn't that funny? They want us to end it in
Yeah.
22 minutes. All right, I'm gonna adjourn the meeting at,
This is.
let's adjourn it at 8:21.